In this video, we're going to show you how to repot vegetable seedlings from these small starter cells into a larger pot that it will grow in indoors for a little while longer before we eventually replant them outside. So first, let's talk about how you know when they're ready to be repotted. So you like to use the rule of 2 to 3. So here we have, this is a mixture of, I think, fish peppers and then some red hot peppers here that they sprouted a little over 2 weeks ago. So the rule of 2 to 3 is this. They should be at least 2 to 3 weeks old. So we got a check mark there. They should be at least 2 to 3 inches tall, which these are. Some of them might be even exceeding that a little bit. And they should have 2 to 3 sets of true leaves. Now, true leaves is an important concept because the first leaf, you see right here, that actually comes off and grows. It's called the cotyledon. It's actually not a true leaf. It's actually part of the seed. Your first true leaf right here, and it has more of the characteristics of what that plant will look like as it grows up. So we have 1 set of leaves, 2 set of leaves. We actually even have a third one coming out. See it here too, 1 set, 2 set, 3 set. So these plants pass the check of the 2 to 3. And so it's time to get our stuff together, and we'll show you how to repot these. Okay, so next we're gonna need to prep our soil. So I just like to use a Miracle Grow potting mix. I'll show you a picture here of what that looks like. Put the link down in the description if you want to purchase some. So that's what this is right here. We got our potting soil. And what we wanna do is we wanna get this moist, but not dripping wet. So what we're gonna do here is I got some water. I'm just gonna pour a little in. And then I'm gonna mix with my hands, making sure you get all the way down to the bottom. All right, that's pretty good. So now you can see a good test here is if I grab a bunch, you see it's damp, but if I squeeze it, there's no visible water just dripping out of it. Just visible water dripping out of it, just add some more dry dirt to find this nice mix where it's nice and moist, but not sopping wet. Okay, so then once we have our soil prepped, we're ready to put some soil into our pots. So what we're gonna use here, this is a 3.5 inch across. It's a biodegradable peat pot. The reason I like these is they're relatively affordable, and the root system actually, as it gets a little bit older, will start to grow through this, meaning that you can just take this thing when it's time to do the next step, which is to plant these outside for their permanent home, and you can just take this whole thing and put it into the ground. So it's nice, it's easy, and all the roots will kind of grow through that. So I'll put the link to this as well in the description. So what we want to do here is we're going to grab our handy spade. We want to fill this in with 3/4 full after we push it down. So 3/4 full, meaning that I'm going to lightly with a thumb so I get a little bit of resistance. Put a little bit more. That's pretty good. You don't want it all the way to the top because you're going to put this plant in. You want to be able to put some more dirt over the base of the stem. And then we're going to make a little starter hole. You can use one of these handy little spades like this. Stick it in there, or honestly, you can just use your finger. I'm just going to kind of work the dirt around till I have a nice little kind of conical hole right in the middle there. So you can kind of see that. Now we're ready to get our plant out. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our seed starter cells out of the base, and we'll take this fish pepper plant right here in the middle. What you can see is it's got a nice root system established, but there's not a lot of thick balling all the way up against the outside, which would mean it's probably taken too long or been too long before we repot it. So you can use like our little spade tool that we had. I'll show you right here. You can use something like this, but oftentimes, honestly, it's easy enough that if you just kind of massage at the bottom, you'll see that whole thing starting to pop up without losing too many roots. And then I can kind of grab real loosely at the base and work this whole thing out. So I have that out. Now I'm going to real gently into the middle of my hole right there. Kind of work it down without pressing too hard. You can kind of see how I'm doing that. Try to make sure it's relatively upright. Now there's still, you can see the dirt from the transplant. The other is a little bit loose, but we want to now top this off, give this base of this stem some nice support. So we're going to do that right here with some more dirt. I can honestly just use my hand. Be real gentle, but you can put a bunch in there loose and start to push down around it. Make sure it's not, you know, if it's too loose when you start to water it, it's going to seep down and all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of head space at the top of this. But this is feeling pretty good. We probably do just a bit more. And there. This guy's repotted. He's ready to go. Let's go get him inside under an LED grow light. All right, so now we're ready to put these guys under the grow light. Here's our fish pepper plant. We add him to 3 of his buddies that I've already done. And what we're gonna wanna do is, the soil was moist, but it's nice to start it out by just topping it off with water. Just leaf caught a little bit. So it's gonna soak, that's plenty to get through. And now this will get wet and that's fine. Some of it can seep out the bottom. Give it a nice thorough watering that first time. But then after this, we're gonna wanna make sure to let the soil, you know, get pretty close to dry before we water again so that we can keep these guys nice and healthy. And you can see this light I'm using, I love this one. There's a lot of good LED lights out there, but as you go from when we used to have a set of 3 with all of our first seedlings under this guy, which I like, well now as they get bigger, right, they got about 3 or 4 more weeks before they go outside. So this light's great, that it's very low profile, you know, cost-effective way that you can spread out a lot of space and still get them the ample light that they need. Put the link to that as well in the description. So hopefully this has helped you understand how to transplant from your starter cells into these 3.5-inch peat pots. These will be about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll show you some other videos how you can get those transplanted to our eventual outside.